I want to start by saying that though the title may imply it in some way, this is not remotely about gender or sexuality in any way outside of some considerations for watch purchasing. I just want to make that crystal clear. People can be whoever they feel they are, I really don't care. The thing is, it's actually quite a personal video, and one that requires a little bit of context before it starts to fully make sense. I made a video on my channel a few months ago about my grandfather's watch, a vintage cushion-shaped piece from the 1950s produced by a Dirty Dozen brand in Vertex. Now that was a really obscure video that I made mostly for myself and my dad, who inherited the piece from his father, but I loved doing it. Upon seeing the video, my mum said to me, "You know what, I have my mother's old watch if you'd like to make a video on that." This video is going to look a little into the history of the brand, this piece in particular, as well as looking at whether the gender a piece was designed for should have any impact when it comes to purchasing a watch, vintage or otherwise. With all that said, let's get into the video. Now, the simple answer to the question asked at the start of the video, can I wear a lady's watch, is no. In this case, can't. The reason I can't is not one of macho bravado, but quite simply, no, I can't. It won't fit. The bracelet has been sized for someone with what I estimate to be a less than 5-inch wrist. It would just about fit my daughter, but it certainly wouldn't fit me. And this is a very old piece that has not only travelled a long way, but has not been worn in decades, so I have no extra links for it. Clearly, it wouldn't make for much of a video if I just drew a line here, shrugged, and rolled the outro. So instead, I got out my digital calipers, measured the lug width, and got myself a new leather strap with colour-matched hardware. Once I swapped in the strap and put the watch on my wrist for the first time holding it into the light, my goodness, it's an absolute beauty. Before we continue, I want to talk about the life that this watch has led up until this point. On my mother's side, I am Chinese Malay. These are Malaysians of Chinese descent who have lived in Malaysia for the last 200 years or so. I'll also add that my Ama, as she was known to me, well, let's just say that she wasn't herself for the last 20 or so years of her long life, and before that, she didn't speak English, so we never had any meaningful conversation. What I can say is that this is a piece that she would have been gifted by my Arkong when she was much younger. I know for a fact that until I put it on around a month ago, no one had worn it since at least 1994. While I don't have an exact date for this piece, similar models are dated around the late 1930s and into the 1940s. You might think that I'm oversharing a bit there, but I promise there is a salient point to make. I absolutely love this watch because not only is it a time-telling machine, but in a more literal sense, it's also a time machine. It's lived a life on the other side of the world, sat dormant for who knows how many decades, and now it's getting loved all over again in the present day. When it comes to whether or not men can wear women's watches, if it's physically possible, sure. If not, then obviously no. For me, I don't think I'd want to wear a watch which is themed to be feminine. Not because there's anything wrong with that, it's just not what appeals to me. However, if a watch is advertised towards women but the design is unisex, I have no issue wearing them at all. Sometimes women's pieces are literally just smaller versions of men's watches, and if you have a smaller wrist like I do, that can be a selling point. Take my favourite G-Shock for example. This is a women's model, but I'd pick this over anything else they make for its dimensions alone. Really, my message here is you do you, but don't let advertising be what sways you. Longines as a brand were first formed in 1832 in Saint-Imier. This is a mountain town in the Jura range in Switzerland. The founder was Auguste Agassiz, and the original name of the brand was Régale Jaune and C. You'll notice I packed everything I can't pronounce into 2 sentences there. Apologies. While I can't find the specifics of the brand beginning to sell its watches in Malaysia, there are records of imports into the Chinese market dating back as far as 1867. That doesn't quite tell the whole story though. My grandfather was a very high-ranking officer in the Chinese Air Force and fought on the side of the Allies during World War II against the Japanese. He spoke 7 different languages and travelled extensively for work and the love of exploring our planet, which goes a long way to explaining my wanderlust even if he passed when I was 6. This family history is relevant because it means that actually there's a pretty high chance that this watch has traversed the globe multiple times rather than simply from Malaysia to the UK. In the end, I guess everything is just moving atoms, but I feel that this watch has a little of the same adventurous spirit that lives within me. One thing you'll no doubt have noticed from the footage so far is that the watch has an aggressively curved crystal from top to bottom with the highest peak in the middle. While dome crystals I know are period correct for vintage pieces, I can't say I've seen something like this before. I don't mind it aesthetically, but it is definitely restrictive when it comes to viewing angles and time telling. As a counter to that though, this is a watch that I want to take my time appreciating anyway, so in this case I really don't mind. I love the delicate colour match Breguet numerals and the shape match rectangular subdial. I've made no secret on the channel that I've been after a square model for my collection for quite some time. I've long admired the Cartier Tank and DeSantos models. Both were serious considerations the last time I saved for a big purchase, and I tried out a DeSantos homage earlier in the year and actually have a Sander tank that I'm making a video on at the moment. However, I actually think I'm going to lay that admiration and desire to the side, because this Longines piece fits the bill for me perfectly. It doesn't quite have the modern brand power of the Cartier for sure, but that was never the point for me anyway. It was always about building a more complete collection. The fact that I have a personal connection with the watch is far more valuable than any monetary figure anyway. I spoke to my mum about how she felt, and she was happy to gift me this piece as somewhat of an heirloom, so it immediately earns itself a place in my permanent collection. I will say though that I haven't put it on the time grapher yet. I want to enjoy the honeymoon period with the piece before I get into that and check whether a potentially, let's say definitely, costly service is needed. At the very least, I'd love to get the crystal cleaned up. It seems to have a little dust built up on the underside, definitely a sign that this would not fare well if fully submerged in water. While the cost of the piece doesn't matter to me in this case for obvious reasons, I think it would be unfair to show all this footage of a watch and not at least address how much it would cost to acquire one if you wanted to. As a vintage piece, there are several factors that influence the cost, leading to a really wide potential price range. First of all is the material used. Some of these watches are gold plated, but some are made from 9 to 14 karat gold, immediately increasing the value. After that, you've got the age, size, specific model, availability, and of course condition to take into account. At the time of writing, prices started around $150, but went up into multiple thousands at the top end. I did come across some models flagged as refurbished, which were actually Franken watches. My advice would be to do thorough research on anything vintage you're thinking of buying. No piece from the 1940s should be quartz powered. I'll just finish by saying that if you can offer specific insight into this particular watch that my untrained internet sleuthing eye cannot, I'd genuinely love to hear it. I'd also welcome your thoughts on vintage and heirloom pieces in general. I'm sure not everyone would want to take those kind of things out on adventures as I have. Finally, returning to the original question posed in the video, if you've got stories about wearing watches advertised for the opposing gender, I'd welcome all of that discussion too. Let's take it to the comments section below. As ever, thank you for your time. If you've enjoyed what you've seen or found it informative, consider dropping the video a like and subscribing for more content like this in future.